Hello friends! The choice of powertrains is very wide and largely depends on the specific model with which we are dealing. The base is a 1.2-liter 8-valve gasoline engine with 65 or 69 horsepower. The 1.4-liter 8-valve unit develops 77 horsepower, and the 16-valve unit develops 95 horsepower in Grande and 105 horsepower in Evo and Punto, multi-air. The list also includes improved versions of the turbocharged T-Jet with 120, 155, and 180 horsepower in Grande, multi-air turbo, 135, 165, and 180 horsepower in the Evo, and only 135 horsepower in Punto. In addition, Punto was offered for a short period of time, with 0.9 twin-air output of 85 or 105 horsepower. The model also has diesel engines. From the very beginning, a relatively old 1.9 multi-jet was installed with an 8-valve blockhead, developing 120 horsepower in 5-door and 120 horsepower in 3-door version. With the advent of Punto Evo, its place was taken by a more modern 1.6 multi-jet with a return of 120 horsepower. He also got under the hood of Grande Punto and Punto after 2012. The smallest turbo diesel 1.3 multi-jet, developing 75 to 95 horsepower, was offered in all versions. The rule is simple: the older the sample, the more one should lean towards naturally aspirated gasoline engines. But the small 1.2-liter aspirated is too weak for the relatively large Punto. It is difficult to count on good performance with an 8-valve 1.4-liter. More or less pleasant dynamics is provided by its 16-valve version. These are not bad engines, but they have a number of characteristic problems. First of all, damage to the head gasket after 150 to 200,000 kilometers. And after 200 to 300,000 kilometers, oil consumption often increases. The reason is the aging of the valve stem seals and the occurrence of piston rings. From time to time, the ignition module, fuel pump, and rear engine mount require attention. Sometimes you have to change the exhaust manifold studs or repair the throttle. Sometimes coolant leaks are found. The reason, as a rule, is in the stiff pipes, or the thermostat is rented. The engines of the multi-air family are still young, so they do not cause serious problems. However, it is too early to judge the margin of their strength. And although the hydraulic valve control system is quite reliable at the moment, in the future there may be problems with spare parts, which are very expensive. Among the supercharged engines, it is better to choose the 1.4 T-Jet in the Grande Punto. This is one of the best units in its class, durable and reliable. True, the turbine housing tends to crack. Surprisingly, the problem did not affect the most powerful 180 horsepower version of the Abarth. The turbo version is also characterized by cracking of the exhaust manifold. Versions with 0.9 twin-air should be avoided due to low torque and potentially high repair costs. The 85 horsepower engine pulls poorly and is constantly loaded. And although there are no complaints from the owners yet, this choice is quite risky. Among the diesel units, the biggest are worthy of recommendations: the modern and refined 1.6 multi-jet and the old man 1.9 multi-jet, durable and cheap to repair. Its typical ailments are failure of the EGR valve, fuel pressure regulator, and turbine control valve. Repair will not cause difficulties for mechanics. The 1.6 M-Jet is slightly more expensive to maintain and repair, but it pays back with more cultured performance and less fuel consumption. In the city, consumption does not exceed 6 liters per 100 kilometers. Among the typical problems, only the DPF filter can be distinguished, which does not like frequent trips around the city. For urban driving conditions, the 1.3 multi-jet is best suited, but you should not expect outstanding dynamic performance from it. But the engine will please with low demand for fuel, about 4 liters on the highway and 5 in the city. Possible diseases are related to the design. The small capacity of the lubrication system obliges you to monitor the oil level more often. Otherwise, its lack will lead to a loss in the efficiency of the timing chain tensioner. It is powered by engine oil. This, in turn, the defect was fixed in later versions after restyling. It is worth noting that the engine is spared from the dual-mass flywheel. After 150,000 kilometers, most likely problems with the DPF filter and injectors cannot be avoided. The best option is a 1.4-liter 77 or 95 horsepower aspirated. Both versions do not require high operating costs. The 105 horsepower multi-air is also worth attention. For those who are more demanding on dynamics, 1.4 T-Jet and 1.9 multi-jet in Grande Punto or 1.6 multi-jet in Punto Evo and Punto are suitable. Having decided on multi-air turbo, one should reckon with more expensive repairs. For people who often move around the city, we can conditionally recommend a 1.3 multi-jet diesel or a 1.2-liter gasoline aspirated. The Cell-A-Speed automated transmission is a little fun to drive for many, and the potential problems are very expensive to fix. Over time, the cuffs give up, because of which the pressure drops and the pump turns on more often. After 150 to 200,000 kilometers, the bearings of the primary, secondary shaft, or differential may make noise. The clutch of the robot is brought to update in the segment of 100 to 150,000 kilometers. The Punto featured a problematic GM M20/M32 manual transmission. She became famous for premature bearing wear. The noise, gradually increasing every day, will tell you about the upcoming repair. In addition, after 150 to 200,000 kilometers, transmission fluid leaks are observed. Most often, leaky oil seals are to blame. The manual transmission clutch usually serves about 150 to 200,000 kilometers. A little earlier, the release bearing may fail. Silent blocks and ball bearings of the front levers often reach up to 150,000 kilometers. Silent blocks of the rear beam are almost eternal. Wheel bearings can make noise after 150 to 200,000 kilometers. The front ones are changed separately, and the rear ones are assembled with the hub. During inspection, attention should be paid to the operation of the steering. The third generation Punto is equipped with an electric power steering with city mode, which provides easy steering even in place. The steering wheel should turn naturally and silently even in normal mode. If not, it's most likely time to replace the steering angle sensor. The original comes only with an amplifier. The quality of the interior is very good. The body is perfectly protected from corrosion, but sometimes a thin varnish is rubbed near the back door. On occasion, an additional brake light may lose tightness. As a result, water can get into the trunk and damage the lock. In the 5-door versions, sometimes there are difficulties with opening the rear doors. The handle or lock fails. There are also difficulties with opening windows. The cable of the window regulator mechanism wears out. Problems with the electrical equipment of the doors arise due to damage to the wiring inside the protective corrugation. Violations in the operation of lighting equipment, wipers, and washer are usually caused by a faulty steering column switch. Taillights can mope due to oxidation of the contacts inside the light and in the connector. After 150 to 200,000 kilometers, the generator has to be updated. A typical defect is cracking of the case. There is an opinion that the reason is the ingress of water. If you know of other model malfunctions, be sure to write about it.